Hello and welcome to the Cycle Breaker Parents Unite podcast. I am coming to you from hiding in my bedroom in lockdown. It's now, I think this is our 12th week. No, this is Sunday of the 11th week that we have been effectively under house arrest, stuck in our house. So I'm using my props. This is for people who are listening on the podcast, you will be able to see this on the YouTube video if you choose. But this is the wall of love hearts in my bedroom. And to describe it for the people who are listening to this on the podcast, so there's an A4 picture of hearts and a heart and a heart and a heart, and they're all coloured different colours of the rainbow. And then there's some beautifully, but inexpertly cut out small love hearts, and they say things like I love you, Teddy. I can't actually read that one because my 4-year-old, who's just learning to write, has just put all kinds of letters and made loads of marks, and then came in and said, it says, Mummy, I love you from Carrie. So, and then there's a whole load of other smaller love hearts. And what happens in our house is that every now and then my middle child, we call him Bear, that's his nickname, he will just arrive and he will just throw a cut out paper heart at you, and he'll look very, very shy, and then he'll run away. And I always say very, very loudly, because he struggles a little bit with his, not with the actual nuts and bolts of speaking, but he struggles with sometimes sharing his feelings. And I always support him by summarizing and saying, oh, you made me a love heart to show me that you love me. Thank you. So that is my middle child. My oldest child, she's 6, and she will come in and she will very quietly sneak up behind you, and she'll suddenly give you a really, really, really tight cuddle, and then she'll squeeze like super tight and then let go. And sometimes she'll even do a kind of noise, and it's very sweet, and then she'll run off. And again, I'll say the same thing. Oh, that's really lovely. We had a cuddle and we show that we love each other. And occasionally she will say it, and occasionally Bear will say it, and sometimes they will each draw pictures. There are many, many different ways of showing our love. My third child, bless him, he is a lover. He's very, very sweet and fluffy, and he basically doesn't last an hour without saying, I love you, Carrie, I love you, Sophia, I love you, Mummy, I love you, Daddy. And some days before we go to sleep, he will go through the list of pretty much every person that he's ever met in his life. I love you, Grandma in England. I love you, Granddad. I love you, Granddad, and Papa and Mama, which is my husband's side of the family. And that's how he shows love. He's very verbal with his love. And when we say, I love you, Teddy, you see it. And I imagine you've had this experience yourself when you say something like, oh, I see how much hard work you put into that. And you see your children grow in front of you, when you actually watch the words land and fill their hearts. And I know it works the other way when we've not had a great day, or we've, maybe said something that we didn't want to, but we're not talking about that today. That's for other days. And it's just incredible to see how they land. Now, here's the interesting thing with the playoff, and this is just my house and my dynamic, and I'm really hoping that through me telling you this story is that you're thinking, oh, is that what it's like in my household? Or even when you were children, if you had siblings or a mum or dad, did they show love in different ways? Because my youngest often gets a bit distressed, because he will go to the middle one, to his brother, and he will say, I love you, Carrie. And Carrie sort of goes, because it makes him feel awkward. He likes being loved, and he understands that he's being told that he's loved, and he does like that. I've talked to him about it. He's not comfortable with saying it. It's not how he really, really feels love. And sometimes Teddy will make something, and of course it's quite rudimentary right now because he's just 3, but he'll make even a scrap of paper, a circle that doesn't look like anything, or a scribble, and he will give it to his brother. And we see, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like this big family, and raising children, it can feel a bit like a massive social experiment, can't it? It's brilliant. In your own home, your own little mini microcosm, and the ecological environment. And he will take that piece of paper or that plasticine snowman or whatever it is, and you see his heart expand. And I find it really interesting watching these two and how they try, and their sister, but it's particularly a thing with the boys because they were born so close together as well, where they are navigating each other's love languages. Yeah. So, and it brings me on to something that I discovered, my husband and I discovered years ago. We've been married for 10 years now, no, 9 years, and long time. We've been together for about 17 and a half years, and we discovered a few years ago the 5 love languages, the book by Gary Chapman. And the premise of the book is, when it originally came out, it was a marriage or romantic relationship between adults concept, and it's now been, he's written new books more recently, I mean still 5 years ago or something, but new books for parents and to understand children's love languages. And the concept is that there are 5 love languages, which I will go into a bit more depth in a second, and that we can have these love languages, and it's how we feel love, it's how we hear love, it's how love lands in our hearts, it's how somebody can do or say something and it can make us go, oh, I feel it. And we all have our own natural love language that we gravitate towards, and there's no values about it, there's no good, there's no bad. If you like physical touch and that is what makes you feel, like my daughter and her hugs, if that's how you feel love, that's fine. It is what it is. But here is when the communication, I'm not going to say problem, conflict could potentially arise. If, say, I understand that I'm loved by being hugged and my partner doesn't really like being touched, but they really love hearing the words, I love you, I respect you, I really appreciate what you did, and their language of love is words of affirmation. So there's words of affirmation, touch, there's receiving small gifts, there's actions. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. I'm going to read it off. I'm going to show you a thing that I've just created, which has got the ball. Should have written them down in advance. So there's the 5 love languages, and if you are communicating in a language that your parents or your children, in the case that we're talking about today, if you're communicating in a way that they don't feel love, you may be working really, really hard to build your relationship, to strengthen your relationship, and you're spinning your wheels because it's not getting through. And that feeling of, why is it not getting through? Why don't they understand? Why don't they know that I love them? That feeling comes from them not hearing it. So it doesn't dilute your love, and it doesn't dilute their worthiness to hear it, and it doesn't dilute how hard you're trying. And some minor tweaks, which basically involves you understanding their love language and understanding your own, so that you can communicate better with your, say, partner, children, people in your life. So you understand about yourself, you understand about your children and your partner's love language, if you have one, and then you can learn to show your love in their preferred way. Not every single time, because we all want a bit of variety, and just because we have one preference, like hearing it all the time or acts of service, it doesn't mean that we only need to hear it in that way. Maybe you can lean more towards that. So I will more likely give my child a hug, but at the same time I will send my eldest child a hug, because I know that that's how she likes to feel love, and that's how she really internalizes, oh, I feel loved by my mummy, is hugs. And hair strokes, she asked me to do her hair a lot, and then she never looks at it and she takes it out immediately. And that tells me that she doesn't really care what her hair looks like, that she wants the time. She wants the time with me, and she wants the physical touch of the stroking and the soothing. And we can tune into this. So that taken aside, the idea of the 5 love languages, and that there are 5 different ways to show and to feel love, and that if you've not tuned in, because maybe you never heard about it until now. I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, that's life-changing. And it really, really was. It really, really was. And, that's your start point, and that can be your end point if that's how far you want this this podcast, this learning to go. So for people on the video who are watching this on YouTube, now I'm going to put the links into this, so even if you're listening in the podcast, you can still hear this. I have just created a thing called the 7-Day Connection Reset, and it is a free mini course. And it's really because I've been thinking about this 5 love languages. I talked to a few people about it, and they were like, what? This is amazing. I've never heard of it, and I'm recommending the book and all kinds of things. So I'll put the link into the show notes of the podcast. So even if you're not seeing it, please don't worry. What it is I'm calling it the 7-Day Connection Reset, because it's a bit of a talk about before, which is, a couple of videos. It's all videos, mini series. You don't really have to do any work. They're all 5-minute videos, but huge learning and huge closeness. So then the 5 days, and then there's a reflection. So let me just show you. All you need to do is log on. It's absolutely free. I mean, you put your email in so that you can get in, and then there's different units, and they go through each of the love languages. And it's really, really easy to navigate. So what I do is I talk you through each of the love languages. Oh, I can read them now. So there's words of affirmation, acts of service, and that doesn't mean, I'll talk about this in the video, but it doesn't mean doing everything for your children. It doesn't mean doing your kids' homework. It doesn't mean doing their washing up when it's their day. It just means, maybe saying, oh, would you like me to carry your scooter for you so that you can rest a little bit? That kind of thing. And making a point of, I'm showing you that I love you. Receiving gifts, which again could be a petal from the floor. It could be, my daughter often gives me like little petals that she finds underneath bushes because I tell them not to pick them, or painting a stone for them. It doesn't need to be buying things. I think we shy away from that because we worry a bit about, I don't want to spoil my kids, quote, I don't want to throw stuff at my kids and make them really materialistic. And actually they don't necessarily want, a new robot or a new transformer or a new Hatcham or whatever. They just would like to know, because what you're really saying is, I saw this, this paper love heart, and I made it for you. This is a gift, and it means I'm thinking of you because I love you. And if that is your child or your partner's love language, they'll go, oh, lovely. I'm sorry if you can hear my children play Mario Kart in the background. Predictably, it got dramatic when I decided to do a podcast. Quality time is the other one, and physical touch. And I talk about, the ins and outs with physical touch of, how to respect your child's, consent around touching their body, because some children don't like it, some people feel uncomfortable about it, and how to ask first, and yes, respect their boundaries, and to show them that you respect them, which is another way of loving them, isn't it? To respect and honor their boundaries. So that is for free right now, and it's available, and it probably will take, I think, about an hour. So you could do the whole thing in one go. And then basically my idea is, how about you spend a day, experiment with your children? That's part of the fun, isn't it? And even if you find, even if, say, you're on quality time day and your kid is like, I don't really want to play Uno again, mummy. It doesn't, you've not lost anything, even if it turns out that their love language is quality touch, quality touch is physical touch. It doesn't mean that you giving them words of affirmation and saying, I love you, there's nobody quite like you, And I give you lots of different ideas within each video, which is, like I said, about 5 to 10 minutes long. That's in short bursts. So it's all fun, and hopefully it will be very, very helpful. So I'm going to end this podcast here and jump back into the chaos of lockdown. I hope that you have a really, really good week. And please do let me know if this helps. Speak to you soon. Bye.